Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Srila Prabhupada ki jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai Nitai Gaur Premanande Hare Hare. Thank you once again Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu for kindly hosting today's session. We were supposed to have it on Saturday, but due to some work, I could not be present on Saturday. So we are having it on Sunday today. And I'm very thankful, Prabhu, that you're kindly hosting this session. Today is the 21st session of our series on Śrī-Caitanya-Śikṣāṣṭakam. And in the previous session, we have completed the first verse, which is Cheto Darpana Marjanam. And today we are going to begin with the second verse of Śrī-Caitanya-Śikṣāṣṭakam. And dear devotees, I'm very happy and very thankful to all of you that you've kindly been present in this journey for exploring this wonderful text, which has come from the mouth of Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Dear devotees, without any further delay, I'll begin the presentation. This is the 21st session on Śrī-Caitanya-Śikṣāṣṭakam. And dear devotees, you can see a new painting of Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his Shadbhuj, six-armed form. And we'll begin, dear devotees, by remembering the verse which was composed at the very beginning of this series. And this prayer was composed so that my own mind can relish this nectar of Śrī-Caitanya-Śikṣāṣṭakam. This verse was composed in the meter Shardula Vikriditam. I'll sing this verse once again. Yannisyanditamashtada bhagavato gaurasya vaktrambujā yadyatnena charakshitam sumanasa Shri Rupa Goswamina nitam yad bahuvritti kridbhirabhita susvadutam chaivata Śrī-Caitanya-Śikṣāṣṭaka padma madhvaliriva leliyatam me mana. That nectar, yad nisyanditam ashtadha bhagavato gaurasya bhaktambujat. That nectar which was produced in 8 different ways from the 8-petal lotus-like mouth of Bhagavan Gaura. So we can see that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's face has been compared to an 8-petal lotus. And from this 8-petal lotus, 8 different varieties of nectar came out. And this 8 variety of nectar is Śrī-Caitanya-Śikṣāṣṭakam, the 8 verses of Śrī-Caitanya-Śikṣāṣṭakam. And these 8 verses of Śrī-Caitanya-Śikṣāṣṭakam, yad yatnena cha rakshitam sumanasa, they were protected with great efforts by Sumanasa, the most intelligent, Shri Rupa Goswamina. Shri Rupa Goswami, because it is Shri Rupa Goswami who compiled the 8 verses of Śrī-Caitanya-Śikṣāṣṭakam in his Padyavali. Nitam yad bahuvritti kridbhirabhitah susvadutam chaiva. And this nectar of Śrī-Caitanya-Śikṣāṣṭakam was made extremely sweet and tasty in all ways by the various commentators. So now that this nectar has come out from the 8-petal lotus mouth of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and now that Sri Rupa Goswami has preserved it, and now that the commentators have made it even more tasty, Śrī-Caitanya-Śikṣāṣṭaka Padma Madhu, Aliriva Lelihiyatam me mana. Aliriva, like a bumblebee, may my mind repeatedly and excessively lick that 8-petal lotus nectar of Śrī-Caitanya-Śikṣāṣṭakam. And dear devotees, with this prayer, we already know that we have completed the tasting of the first verse, Cheto Darpana Marjanam, and the mind is compared to a bumblebee. So Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu, now the bumblebee should fly onto which verse?
Verse number 2.
Verse number 2. Dear devotees, the bumblebee has to fly onto verse number 2. But before we begin our relishment of the second verse of Śrī-Caitanya-Śikṣāṣṭakam, it is also important to offer a fresh prayer to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Because in the beginning of each verse of Śrī-Caitanya-Śikṣāṣṭakam and at the end of each verse of Śrī-Caitanya-Śikṣāṣṭakam, I'll try to offer a newly composed verse to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and in his glorification. So these are two verses composed in glorification of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and these verses are as follows. Ekatmani dvyavasthayam tridehe vakchatushtaye panchatatve shadaksheshu saptachakreshu me tatha sada vishatu gauranga Mahāprabhu mukhodgatam ramyam shiksastakam yena dhanyah syam bhuri bhurishah. Ekatmani, in the one soul which I am. Dvi-avasthayam, in the two states, living state and dead state. Tridehe, in the three bodies that belong to me, the gross body, subtle body, and the causal body. Vakchatushtaye, and in the four levels of speech that I have. These four levels of speech were discussed previously in the Siksastakam series. Para, Pashyanti, Madhyama, and Vaikhari. Panchatatve, in the five elements of my body, earth, water, fire, air, and ether. Shadaksheshu, in the six senses described in the Bhagavad Gita, mind and five gross senses. Saptachakreshu, and the seven chakras of my body, which were listed previously in a session. Mooladhar Chakra, Swadhisthana Chakra, Manipur Chakra, Anahat Chakra, Vishuddha Chakra, Agya Chakra, and Sahasrara Chakra. So in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 entities of my body, may there be complete permeation of the 8 verses of Sri Siksastakam. Sada avishatu gauranga Mahāprabhu mukhodgatam. May there be constant and complete permeation of the 8 verses of Siksastakam, which emanate from Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu's mouth. Ramyam Śikṣāṣṭakam yena dhanyah syam bhuri bhurisha. By such permeation, I shall certainly become greatly and exceedingly fortunate. So, dear devotees, in this verse, an attempt is made to give a series of numbers from 1 to 7, and may these 7 be completely permeated by the 8, which is the 8 verses of Sri Caitanya-Śikṣāṣṭakam. So, this is a new verse, a prayer to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Dear devotees, with this newly composed verse, I'll move ahead. And as I said, in every session, there is going to be a new realization on Sri Harinam. So I'll quote a verse from Hari Bhakti Vilas, and this verse is very nice. The previous Acharya Sri Shiva Goswami also quotes this verse in the Sandarbhas. Sakriducharitam yena harir ityaksharadvayam baddha parikarastena mokshaya gamanam prati. Sakrit ucharitam yena, a person who has once uttered Hari iti aksharadvayam, the 2 syllables, Hari, baddha parikarastena mokshaya gamanam prati, has rolled up his sleeves to walk on the long path of liberation. This verse, although seems to be simple, but has a detailed purport behind it, that just because a person has chanted the name of Hari once, many scriptures say that the person has already attained liberation. The Acharyas explain that when Shastras say that they have attained liberation, it means that they have begun walking on the long path of liberation. And gradually, one day, they will definitely attain liberation. Of course, there's always the possibility of an exceptional case wherein a single utterance can immediately liberate someone. But generally, it takes a long time. So, baddha parikarastena mokshaya gamanam prati. So such a person has rolled up his sleeves to walk on the long path of liberation. For example, if Dhāmeśvara Mahaprabhu decides that he'll walk from his home all the way to the other side of the country, and he rolls up his sleeves because he has to cover a long path, and let's say he's going to walk from Laguna Beach, where his home is, all the way on the other side to New York. It's going to be a long distance. So as soon as he begins walking, and maybe he has just reached the corner of the street, somebody comes and asks, where is Dhāmeśvara Mahaprabhu? And the reply comes, oh, he's gone to New York. It is not yet reached New York. He's right on the corner. But for the purpose of speaking, we will say that he's gone to New York. Similarly, although a person has started walking on the long path of liberation, Shastras will say that such a person has already attained liberation. So this is the purport behind this particular verse. And this verse is quoted by our acharyas to illustrate this point, that whenever Shastras say that a particular person has become liberated due to chanting Harinam, or whenever the Shastra says that all of one's sins have been destroyed by chanting Harinam, it means that the process has begun and the person is on the correct path. This is what it is. Dear devotees, the previous verse, which was Cheto Darpana Marjanam, this verse was uttered by Śrī-Caitanya-Mahaprabhu in the state of Mohan Mahabhav. In the beginning of that verse, Cheto Darpana Marjanam, we had discussed what was the internal state of mind of Śrī-Caitanya-Mahaprabhu, in which he uttered that verse Cheto Darpana Marjanam. And we saw that the commentators, Sri Radha Govindanath, etc., they say that Mahaprabhu was experiencing the mood of Sri Radha. And in that mood, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is experiencing Mahabhav. Mahabhav means he's experiencing the highest state of prema. And in that highest state of prema, one of the symptoms is that one sees the entire universe in distress. And Sri Radha saw the entire universe in distress. And in order to counteract that, in the mood of Sri Radha, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that Nama Sankirtana Kalau Param Upaya. In the age of Kali Yuga, Nam Sankirtan is the greatest remedy. So that was the mood with which the first verse, Cheto Darpana Marjanam, was uttered. After some time, something else happened. Another set of emotion arises. The Chaitanya Charitamrita describes. Uthila Vishada Dainya Pade Apan Shlo Yahar Artha Shuni Sava Jai Dukha Sho. Uthila Vishada Dainya. Then, after some time, Vishad. Vishad is dejection. And Dainya. Dainya is often translated as humility, but a more accurate translation is self-pity. So, Uthila Vishada Dainya. Two emotions arose in Mahaprabhu. Dejection and self-pity. Pade Apan Shlok. Then he began reciting another verse which was created by him. Yahar Artha Shuni Sab Jai Dukha Shok. Hearing the meaning of that verse, all of one's unhappiness and lamentation goes away. Dear devotees, the commentator Sri Radha Govindanath asks a very important question. Why is Mahaprabhu experiencing dejection and self-pity at this point of time? Because when the first verse was spoken, many of you might be remembering the emotion which Mahaprabhu was experiencing was harsha, joyousness. because he had found a solution to the suffering of the living entities of this age of Kali. And suddenly Mahaprabhu's emotion has changed into dejection and self-pity. What is the reason that Mahaprabhu has experienced this change of emotion? So, dear devotees, Sri Radha Govindanath explains that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was describing the glories of Sri Krishna Sankirtanam in the first verse, and there were 7 glories described: Cheto Darpanam Arjanam, all the way until Sarvatma Snapanam, complete, nourishment, complete bathing of the soul, body, and mind. And then Mahaprabhu suddenly became absorbed in the mood of a devotee, because this is what happens usually. A practitioner of spiritual life, when they are perfected, they exist in 2 simultaneous bodies. One body is called Sadhaka Deha, the practitioner's body. One body is called Siddha Deha, the perfected body. So Mahaprabhu, of course, he is Bhagwan. He is not an ordinary sadhaka. He is not an ordinary practitioner. But Mahaprabhu also exhibits 2 simultaneous moods. First is when he is in the mood of Sri Radha. Second is when he is in the mood of a practitioner, a sannyasi, a devotee in masculine body. So suddenly Mahaprabhu's mood has switched to the mood of a devotee. And you will see that many other acharyas also have this switching of mood. For example, Shri Narottam Das Thakur Mahashay, at one point of time, he will exhibit, this feeling of being a perfected associate of Shri Krishna and Srimati Radharani in songs such as Radha Krishna Pranamor Jugala Kishore. In that song, there is no feeling of self-pity. There is no feeling of dejection. It's all happiness. And suddenly his mood will change, and then he will say, Gauranga Karuna Karo, oh Gauranga, please be merciful to me. So suddenly his mood changes from one song to another song. Not in the same song, but in different songs, his mood keeps switching between sadhaka and siddha, between practitioner and perfected. So Mahaprabhu's mood also keeps switching between Sri Radha and the sannyasi practitioner. Mahaprabhu has switched to the mood of a sannyasi practitioner, and that is the mood of a devotee. And in this mood, he is realizing that he himself doesn't have any genuine attachment towards Nam, and he's feeling deprived of the result of uttering the 7 results that were given: Cheto, Darpanam, Arjanam, Bhavamaha, Davagni, Nirvapanam. He himself feels that he'll not be able to attain these results. And because of this, Vishad, dejection, and Dainya, self-pity, has arisen in the mind of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And as a result, Mahaprabhu has uttered the next verse of Śrī-Caitanya-Śikṣāṣṭakam. This, dear devotees, is the connection between the first verse of Śrī-Caitanya-Śikṣāṣṭakam and the second verse of Śrī-Caitanya-Śikṣāṣṭakam. So, Sri Radha Govindanath, being a very expert commentator, has given us the connection between the first and the second verse, and we will remember this connection because Mahaprabhu is switching from the mood of Sri Radha to the mood of a devotee practitioner. And Mahaprabhu thus utters the second verse of Śrī-Caitanya-Śikṣāṣṭakam. Nam namakari bahudhani sarva shaktis tatrarpitani yamita smaranena kala etadrishi tava kripa bhagavan mamapi durdaivamidrishamiha janinanuraga. Dear devotees, this verse is originally compiled in Padyavali, verse number 31, and in Chaitanya Charitamrita it is taken from Sri Padyavali. I have listed here the first quarter of the verse, and I have listed the Guru, the heavy syllables, in red, and Laghu, the light syllables in brown. So heavy syllables, Guru, are those, last time we saw the rooster, which require 2 eye blinks of time. So heavy syllables require 2 eye blinks of time, and Laghu syllables require 1 eye blink of time. So Nam are heavy syllables. Makari, Ma is Laghu, Ka is Guru, Ribhudha, the 5th, 6th, 7th are Laghu, 8th is Guru, Nija, 9th and 10th are Laghu, Sarva, 11th is Guru, 12th is Laghu, 13th and 14th are Guru. So this pattern is 14 syllables per line. Meter is Vasanta Tilakam. This is the name of the meter. And the same meter can be sung in various tunes. In the Śrī-Caitanya-Śikṣāṣṭakam recording that has been uploaded initially, I have sung in a slightly different tune. What I sung just now, Nam Namakari, is the standard tune which many devotees sing. There are other tunes also which you can sing this in. Nam Namakari Bahudha Nija Sarva Shaktis Tatrarpitani Amita Smaranena Kalah Etadrishi Dava Kripa Bhagavan Mamapi Durdaiva Mitrishami Hajani Nanuraga Nam Namakari Bahudha Nija Sarva Shaktis Tatrarpitani Amita Smaranena Kalah Etadrishi Tava Kripa Bhagavan Mamape Durdaiva Vidrishami Nanuraga. So, 3 different tunes for singing the same meter, Vasanta Tilakam. Meter will remain same, pattern of Laghu and Guru, heavy and light syllables will remain the same, but the tune will change. So, 1 meter can be sung in unlimited tunes. It is said that Shri Raghunath Bhatt Goswami would sing each meter of the Srimad Bhagavatam in 3 or 4 tunes. So, dear devotees, Shri Raghunath Bhatt Goswami was completely expert in the science of Sanskrit meters. At least we can try to sing 1 meter in 3 or 4 tunes, if not all of them. All right. So I have sung this particular meter in 3 different tunes, and you have heard it. Dear devotees, now we will go to Anvay. Anvay is arrangement of the verse in such a way that we are able to make legible sense out of the verse. So this is the verse we just sung. And dear devotees, here is the Anvay. I will read the English, I read the Sanskrit, and Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu will kindly read the English. Bhagavan.
O Bhagavan,
Nam.
in regard to your unlimited names,
Bahudha.
immense variety,
Akari.
has been manifested by you.
Nija Sarva Shakti.
Moreover, all of your personal potencies
Arpita.
have been eternally invested
Tatra.
in these names, and
Nakalaha.
no specific time
Niyamitaha.
has been fixed
Smarane.
for remembering them.
Etadrishi.
Such is
Tava.
your
Kripa.
causeless mercy.
Api.
Yet
Mama.
my
Durdaivam.
misfortune
Idrisham.
is such that
Na.
no
Anuragaha.
genuine attachment
Ajani.
was developed by me
Iha.
in these names.
So, Prabhu, can you read in a sequence and see if we can form a legible sentence?
O Bhagavan, in regard to your unlimited names, immense variety has been manifested by you. Moreover, all of your personal potencies have been eternally invested in these names, and no specific time has been fixed for remembering them. Such is your causeless mercy. Yet my misfortune is such that no genuine attachment was developed by me in these names.
So does it sound like a legible sentence, Prabhu?
Yes.
That's all right. And let's check if we have covered all the terms. Nam is covered. Akari is covered. Bahudha is covered. Nija Sarva Shakti is covered. Tatra Arpita is covered. Niyamitaha is covered. Smarane is covered. Nakalah is covered. Etadrishi Tava Kripa. Bhagavan is on the top left. Bhagavan. Mama and Api are both there. Durdaivam Idrisham Iha Ajani Na Anuraga. All the terms, the devotees are covered. Here is the same Anvay in sentence format. Oh Bhagavan, in regard to your unlimited names, immense variety has been manifested by you. Moreover, all of your personal potencies have been eternally invested in these names, and no specific time has been fixed for remembering them. Such is your causeless mercy. Yet my misfortune is such that no genuine attachment was developed by me in these names. So this, dear devotees, is the second verse of Śrī-Caitanya-Śikṣāṣṭakam. Please always remember, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is uttering this in the mood of a devotee. He is feeling dejection and self-pity when he is uttering this particular verse. Now, let's begin understanding the verse. The first Sanskrit commentary is by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada in his Anubhashya commentary, which I have given here. He says, Hey Bhagavan, Prabhu Shri Krishna, O Bhagavan, Shri Krishna, by your causeless mercy, unlimited variety was manifest in the names. And in each name, unlimited potencies of yours were invested, and no specific time is expected for remembering them. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says, Sarvakalepi na kopi vidhi. They can be remembered at all times and there is no fixed rule. Tava etadrishi kripa. Such is your mercy. Kintu tathapi mamapi idrisham durvadavam. But my misfortune is also such that in these names of yours, my sincere attachment could not take place. So this is Anubhashya. It is just a commentary which does the Anvay. But still, I wanted to cover it because Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur has composed this Anubhashya. Then, dear devotees, a very interesting take on the verse by Shri Utsavanand, our next Sanskrit commentator. I had introduced Shri Utsavanand and his Ananda Chandrika commentary previously when we were starting the first verse. So, in his Ananda Chandrika commentary, he says, Nama Sahasranam Samuhanam. In all the thousands and thousands of names, Nama Sahasranam. He is referring to Vishnu Sahasranam, all the names in all the groups of thousands that are found. Vishnu Sahasranam, Gopal Sahasranam, all the names that are found. And he gives names. What names? Krishna, Govinda, Namadav, Krishna, Govinda, etc. So what has happened in those names? Nija Sarva Shakti. All personal potencies were invested. Bahudha means Bahuvara, Bahuprakara. Multiple times in many ways. Those potencies were invested by Bhagavan. And dear devotees, this is where Sri Utsavanand takes a very different reading of the verse. The second line, Tatrarpita Niyamitah Smaranena Kalaha. This is the phrase Niyamitah Smaranena Kalaha means that specific times have been fixed for the purpose of carrying out Smaran. Wonderful, dear devotees. See how the standard reading of the verse is on the left hand side. Niyamitaha Smarane Na Kalaha. There is no time fixed. Niyamitaha means fixed. Na Kalaha means no time. So no time. Na Kalaha Niyamitaha. No time has been fixed. But Sri Utsavananda joins that Na to Smarane and it becomes Smaranena. Niyamitaha Smaranena Kalaha. Now the meaning becomes that through the process of remembrance, times have been fixed. Dear devotees, which means that not only has Mahaprabhu bought all these names in this world, not only has Mahaprabhu manifested these names in this world, Shri Krishna has manifested these names, but Mahaprabhu has, Shri Krishna has also given the various times of the day where we can remember various names for various pastimes. Ashtakaliya Lila. Last time we saw what is Ashtayam Lila, Ashtakaliya Lila. So at different times of the day, you remember different names, different pastimes of the Lord. Bhagwan, you are so merciful that you have even fixed the time of remembrance of any particular name and pastime. Wonderful take on the second line of this particular verse. Oh Bhagwan, etadrishi tava kripa bhaguva. Such has been your mercy. Then he says, Tathapi idrisham mama durdaivam. But my misfortune is also such that in these names, no genuine attachment took place. Dear devotees, a very wonderful commentary. See, a single commentator is bringing, one commentator will bring out one special aspect of the verse. And therefore, we should study every verse from different angles, from different commentators, because they will bring out the specialties. So now we know Tatrarpita Niyamitah Smaranena Kala has two meanings, not just one meaning. Dear devotees, in the beginning of the Śrī-Caitanya-Śikṣāṣṭakam series, I had specified that there is also a commentary which is attributed to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur on the Śrī-Caitanya-Śikṣāṣṭakam. But that commentary was not on the first verse, it begins from the second verse. So dear devotees, there is a Sanskrit commentary attributed to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. And in this commentary also, the verse has been explained very nicely from a very different angle. This commentary says, Bhagavatah Shri Krishnasya Namnam Swaswarupa Bhutan. Says the names of Bhagavan Shri Krishna are Swaswarupa Bhuta, are an intrinsic part of his own eternal existence. This is a very important siddhanta, very important philosophical principle that Bhagavan's name, Bhagavan's form, Bhagavan's qualities, Bhagavan's pastimes are an intrinsic part of his eternal existence. Our name is not an intrinsic part of our existence because tomorrow we may decide to change our name. We may go to the name changing registrar and get our name changed. And especially after death, when we take on a next body, the name will not go along with us. We will have a different name in the next body. So our names are not an intrinsic part of our existence because our existence is not eternal. Similarly, our form is also not a part of our intrinsic part of our existence because the form is constantly changing. It undergoes 6 changes of the material world and finally it is destroyed. So, dear devotees, our form is also not an intrinsic part of our existence. Our qualities are also not an intrinsic part of our existence. A certain person may be a very angry person and then he may undergo therapy and may become a very kind person. So our qualities are also not an intrinsic part of our existence. So none of these are intrinsic to us, but for Bhagavan, the Naam, the Roop, the Gun and Leela are intrinsic part of his existence. In the Sandarbhas, in Bhagavad Sandarbha, Sri Jiva Goswami has explained a very important Siddhanta that Bhagavan's clothes and Bhagavan's weapons and Bhagavan's jewelry, they are not separate from Bhagwan's body, they are intrinsic part of Bhagwan's body. This is what Sri Jiva Goswami has explained in the Sandarbhas. That it is not that Bhagwan's weapons are made out of some different substance altogether. They are made from the same substance that Bhagwan's own body is made. And in fact, those weapons are also an eternal intrinsic part of Bhagwan's body. So this Siddhanta we should understand. Similarly, Bhagwan's names are also an intrinsic part of his own eternal existence. This is what Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary is saying. Ananta Prabhavam Vilasam Cha Drishtva. So Mahaprabhu was seeing the limitless power and elegance of these names. And then Bhakta Bhava Angikaratvena. See, Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is also saying the same thing that Sri Radha Govindath was saying. That Mahaprabhu, because he had accepted the mood of a devotee, Bhakta Bhava Angikar. Therefore, Atmani Ati Nikrishtataya Mananena. So, Mahaprabhu considered himself extremely low because he has accepted the mood of a devotee and he sees that the glories of Sankirtan may not be achievable by him. Thus, feeling repeated distress due to not being able to attain the desired goal, Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself spoke the glories of such names. And Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, Sadhya Sadhana Rupam. These names are the means as well as the goal of one's practice. So, in order to attain the goal, what is the goal? The goal is also to constantly and lovingly chant Krishna's Naam, always, eternally, in the spiritual world, in a perfected body. And the process is also to lovingly chant Krishna Naam in a practitioner's body. So Mahaprabhu is explaining the glories of that name, which are the means as well as the goal of one's practice. Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary continues. Bhagavata Shri Krishnena Namna Bahuta Bahu Prakara. That, in regard to his names, thousands of varieties. Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says Sahasrashah, thousands of varieties. And he gives the names Mukunda, Govinda, Hari, Putanari. Hari means enemy, Putanari means enemy of Putana, were manifested by Bhagavan Shri Krishna himself. In all those names, Tatra Namasu, Nijasya Swasya Sarva Shakti Arpita Samarpita. In all those names, all of his potencies were completely invested. This is specified in the Skanda Purana. This is the speciality of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary. He is quoting a verse which has not been quoted by other commentators. And what is the verse he is quoting? Dana Vrata Tapastirtha Kshetradinam Chaya Sthita Rajasuyashvamedhanam Dhyanasya Vastuna Shaktayo Deva Mahatan Sarva Papa Hara Shubha Akrishta Harina Sarvan Sthapita Sveshu Namasu. This verse from the Skanda Puran is quoted in Hari Bhakti Vilas, 11th chapter, 398-399. All the sin destroying potencies present in the saintly souls, all the sin destroying potencies present in the Devatas, in the gods, all the sin destroying potencies present in acts of charity, in vows, in austerity, in pilgrimage, in sacrifices such as Rajasuya and Ashwamedh, and all the sin destroying potencies present in acquiring knowledge of the transcendental truth. All of these potencies have been drawn by Hari and invested in his own names. The devotees, this verse from Hari Bhakti Vilas is the proof for Tatrarpita, that Nijasarva Shaktis Tatrarpita, that all of his potencies have been invested in his own names. So, Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary gives the Shastra Praman, gives proof from Shastra for what Mahaprabhu has uttered. Although Mahaprabhu's utterance itself is Shastra Praman for us, but still, the way of the Acharyas is such that they will give Shastra Praman even for the statements made by Mahaprabhu. In this way, Praman from Shastra has been given. तन्नाम सुस्मरणे कालः समयो न नियमितः नियमाभावः कृतः. Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, in remembering these names, no time has been fixed. That is, there is a lack of rules in regard to times. So, there is no lack of potency. All potencies have been invested, but no time rules have been invested. Try to see the difference. All potencies have been invested, but no rules for time have been invested. Right? So, then he says, Tathahi Vishnu Dharmottare. Then he quotes a verse from the Vishnu Dharmottar Puran. Again, this is from the Hari Bhakti Vilas. Nadesh niyamastatra nakal niyamastatha nochishthadau nishedhascha Shri Harer Nam Nilubdhaka. Nadesh niyamastatra. Oh, Lubdhaka. Lubdhaka means, oh hunter. There is a statement being made to a hunter. There are no fixed rules in regard to place or time. And there are no restrictions against chanting Harinam in a contaminated state of body. Dear devotees, this statement is being made to a hunter who hunts animals and obviously is in a contaminated state of body and mind. So there are no fixed rules in regard to place or time, and there are no restrictions against chanting Harinam in a contaminated state. So, na desha niyamas. Dear devotees, Mahaprabhu is saying that tatrarpita niyamitah smaranena kalaha. Time, there is no fixed time. But Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says not only fixed time, there's no fixed place. You can chant in any particular place. Not only time, there's no fixed place. And there's no fixed requirement of being pure in body at any particular point of time for uttering Bhagwan's Naam. A classic example of this is found in the life of Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji. Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji, once some people started troubling him. How did they start troubling him? Because they came to know that he is a very elevated sadhu and they wanted to get his blessings for advancement in their spiritual life or advancement in their material prosperity. So they would come and touch his feet when he would be performing his Nam Bhajan. And he would be happily and silently performing his Nam Bhajan. Suddenly, some people would come and touch his feet. So Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj got very disappointed with this. He was unhappy with this. So one fine day, Sri Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj decided to go to that place which nobody will visit so easily, and that is the lavatory or the restroom where people usually go, when they want to answer the calls of nature. And inside those restrooms, he would close the door and he would chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Dear devotees, na desha niyamastatra, na kala niyamastata. There is no restriction of time. There is no restriction of place. Even inside a restroom, you can chant Harinam. Na uchchisthadav nisheda. Don't think about being in a contaminated state of body. Shri Hare Nam Nirobdhaka. So this is Praman given by the previous acharyas. Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary concludes by saying, Punar Nirveda Dainyabhyama. Then again, out of dejection and self-pity. These two emotions were listed in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has picked them up and said, out of dejection and self-pity, Mahaprabhu again said, Hey Bhagavan, Janeshu Tava Etadarshi Kripa. Such is your mercy on all entities. So Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is saying, such is your mercy on whom? On all living entities. Yet my misfortune is such that in these names no affection was developed by myself. Iti artha. This is the meaning of the verse. Dear devotees, this is, you see, Sanskrit commentators, they just explain the verse, they explain the secrets in the verse and move aside. Then you are left with the verse. Directly you are left with the verse. That is the purpose of a commentary. After a commentator gives his commentary, the commentator steps aside so that you and the original verse can interact directly now. So after you have listened to these commentaries, you don't need to memorize these commentaries, but you need to understand the finer points being made. For example, the second line has two meanings. Tatra arpita niyamitah smaranena kal. We just saw. So once you remember this, next time you study the verse, you will remember that the second line has two meanings. You will remember all these small nuances within the verse, and the purpose of the commentary is served. So this is the reason why the commentaries are made. The main focus should ultimately be the verse. The commentary helps us to understand the finer nuances of the verse. So dear devotees, having explained this, I'll move ahead. Of course, there is the commentary on Sri Padyavali by Sri Veer Chandra Goswami. How can we forget Sri Veer Chandra Goswami? In the first verse of Śrī-Caitanya-Śikṣāṣṭakam, he had explained so nicely from so many points of view. And of course, he has commented on all the verses of the Padyavali, and Śrī-Caitanya-Śikṣāṣṭakam is also part of that. So Sri Veer Chandra Goswami begins his commentary named Rasika Rangada, joy giver of the Rasika devotees. Nam Nam Anarvichniya Mahatmyam Gyapayatum. In order to make the inconceivable glories of Nam known to everyone, Bhagavan Shri Gaur Chandra speaks as if he is critiquing himself out of a lack of genuine attachment to these names. Thus, he prays for increased attachment to Shri Krishna in order to instruct everyone else. And in this mode, the verse is composed. Dear devotees, there is a very nice principle in Mimamsa. Nahi ninda nindyam ninditum prayujyate. When there is criticism in Shastra, that criticism is not to put something or someone down. Criticism in Shastra uh, is to elevate the status of what is opposite of that which is being criticized. For example, if Shastra critiques Grihastha life is a dark well, so Shastra does not have any personal grudge against Grihastha life. So Shastra is not actually critiquing Grihastha life. Shastra is indirectly glorifying renunciation. Please try to understand. So whenever there are statements of criticism in Shastra, We should understand that statements of criticism are not to be taken directly. In fact, statements of criticism are to be understood as glorifications of the opposite principle. That is what uh, is to be understood. Let me, dear devotees, so this particular point that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is critiquing himself. He is not critiquing himself, he is basically praying for increased attachment towards these names, not only for himself, but for everybody else in the world who is going to chant these names. Dear devotees, he continues, Hey Bhagavan, O Bhagavan, with great mercy, a variety of names were manifested by your good self. And with what intention? He says, Kasmin kasmin kasya kasya abhiruchir jayatam. Iti etadartham. That in a certain name, a certain living entity may develop genuine attraction. You manifested unlimited names, and so that because there are unlimited living entities, maybe one living entity will become attracted towards one name. With that hope, you have manifested unlimited names. This is a very wonderful point. Next time I will elaborate on this particular point. But let's continue. Yadva नित्य सिद्धानाम नाम नाम करुणा असंभवाद एवं व्याव्याख्येयम भवता नाम नाम बहुधा प्रकाशभूत. So see, Shri Veer Chandra Goswami is making a very important point here. The names were never created. Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu, were the names created at any point of time?
No.
No. So the Sanskrit verse says akari, you created. And what did you create? Bahudha, variegatedness. You created variegatedness, varieties of names. So basically, what is the meaning of that created these names? Because if names become created, then they will become part of material world. Because whatever is created has to be destroyed. It has to undergo 6 changes. In the spiritual world, nothing is created, nothing is destroyed. So Bhagwan has not created his names, Bhagwan has manifested these names in the world out of his mercy. This is the meaning that we have to understand. And Nam Nam Akari, that is not that Bhagwan created these names at a certain point of time. Bhagwan manifested them in the material world at a certain point of time. So that is the meaning of the verse. Nam Nam Akari Bahudha. So Akari, now he is giving a grammatical principle. Krain dhator arthantar vrittittvena akarmakatvat ato bhave pratyaya. Akari, the term is formed through the verbal root kre. Basically, the verbal root is dukre karane. Kre verbal root, which is transitive, sakarmak. Dhameshwar Mahaprabhu, do you know what is transitive verb?
Something that doesn't last?
No. So a transitive verb is a verb which compulsorily has an object. I'll give you an example. For example, I will say, he was playing. And then if you ask a question, what? Then the answer should come. He was playing soccer. So whenever an object is there to a verb, you call it transitive verb. And whenever you ask the question what and the answer doesn't come, it is called an intransitive verb. For example, he was laughing. If you ask the question, what was he laughing? There is no answer to that. So laugh is an intransitive verb. Play is a transitive verb. So akari, you created. So created, what did you create? So it is a transitive verb. Akari is a transitive verb. But there is no object given here in the verse. There is no object given here. So there's no object given means what did you create? So the only answer is Bahudha. You created variegatedness. But that is not exactly an object. So there is no object for the verb akari in the verse. But he says sometimes transitive verbs become intransitive when you use it in a different manner. So there are some verbs which can become transitive as well as intransitive. So I'll give an example in Sanskrit. There is that verb vahati. Vahati means to carry, and vahati also means to flow. So gardavah bharam vahati. The donkey carries. Carries what? Carries a load. So this is transitive verb. And nadi vahati. The river flows. This is an intransitive verb. So same verb can become transitive and intransitive. Here the same verb akari, which was supposed to be transitive, due to change of meaning, it has become intransitive. So grammatical point. But I'll explain the whole grammar. My duty here is to explain the grammatical nuances also. But in case you are not able to understand what is transitive and intransitive, forget about it. All right. It's a technical grammatical point. So therefore, this root, verbal root kre for akari receives the suffix ta in the sense of bhava. So this is grammatical principle. We'll move ahead. Nijasya ya sarva shaktirasti sa tatra arpita iti. And whatever your personal potencies, Bhagwan's personal potencies, they are completely invested in these names. And then Shri Veer Chandra Goswami quotes a verse, very nice verse. Sarvartha Shakti Yuktasya Deva Devasya Chakrina Yacha Viruchitam Nama Tat Sarvartheshu Yojayet. Sarvartha Shakti Yuktasya Deva Devasya Chakrina. The discus wielding Almighty Supreme Lord is equipped eternally with all varieties of his potencies. And just as he is equipped with all his potencies, his names are also equipped with all potencies. And amongst all his names, Yacha Abhiruchitam Nam, whatever name is completely dear to oneself, Tat Sarvartheshu Yojayet, should be employed in all acts of life. If the name Ram is dear to somebody, let them employ the name Ram in all acts of life. After sneezing, Ram. After coughing, Ram. Before sleeping, Ram. After waking up, Ram. So whatever name is dear to oneself, let somebody employ that name in all acts of life. Because all names are carrying all the potencies of Bhagavan. Arpita iti. Now, Prabhu, first problem was that the names were created. But are the names ever created?
No.
No. Second problem is Arpita. All the potencies were invested. Can all the potencies become invested? Please tell me.
No.
No. Because the names are eternal. So the investment of the potency should also be eternal. Which means that neither the names were created at a certain point of time, nor were the potencies invested at a certain point of time. So how do we explain this? So he quotes a verse from the Gautamiya Tantra. Aneka janma siddhanam gopinam patireva va. So there is a verse in Gautamiya Tantra which says that Krishna became the Lord of the gopis who were perfected over many lives. You know, this is a verse in Gautamiya Tantra that the gopis perfected themselves over many lives. And then Krishna became their lover, their beloved. When we hear this verse, the immediate sense that we get is that the gopis must have executed a lot of sadhana over many lives in order to attain Krishna. But that is not the meaning of the verse. The meaning of the verse actually is that the gopis aneka janma siddhanam, that from unlimited lives they are already perfect. Aneka means aganita. From infinite lives they are already perfected, and for those perfected gopis, since time since beginningless time, Bhagavan is their lover. This is the meaning. So sometimes, we say like this. For example, we say that the living entity is conditioned since time immemorial. Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu, what is the meaning of immemorial?
Forever.
But
It technically means since before can be remembered.
yeah. So immemorial means since before memory, before human memory. That is the meaning of immemorial. That is the literal meaning. But the actual meaning of immemorial is anadi, beginningless. The conditioning of the living entity is immemorial, means it is beginningless. Similarly, the names were invested with the potencies long, long ago. No, long, long ago means they never invested. They are eternally equipped with the potency. They were never invested with the potencies. So Tatrar Pita means they are eternally equipped with all the potencies of Bhagavan. This is how we have to understand. So just as the gopis are eternally perfect and did not become perfected at a certain point of time, similarly, the names are eternally invested with Bhagavan's potencies and they did not become invested at a certain point of time. Very important Siddhantic principle given by Shri Veer Chandra Goswami, and he is following Shri Jiva Goswami's line of thought here, which is very nice. Atastava kripa etadrishi nirupama. Such is your mercy, it is incomparable, O Bhagavan. Mamapi. However, my misfortune is also inconceivable to mind and words. In Mamapi, there is the term api. And api indicates, he says, that this is the misfortune not of Mahaprabhu, but of the entire world. Mahaprabhu is speaking on behalf of the entire world. Our misfortune, O Bhagavan, is also such that genuine attraction in these names did not occur. And due to this, Rasanadayomyesham Kathana Shravana Smarana Para Adunapi. He says, my tongue, etc., are still dedicated to hearing other external talks, remembrances, etc. And genuine attraction doesn't arise in them. Mam dhik dhikiti vyajyate. Thus Mahaprabhu indicates, dhik dhik, fie upon me, fie upon me. The devotees, as I said, criticism in Shastra is not employed for the sake of critiquing a particular entity. Criticism in Shastra is employed for glorification of the opposite. This is what we have to understand. Otherwise, we will think that Mahaprabhu is critiquing himself, and this is not the Siddhanta. We should understand that criticism is employed for the purpose of glorifying the opposite of it. I will give the exact quote about this. Dear devotees, please have a look. Nahi ninda, निंद्यम निंदितुम प्रयुज्यते किम तरहि निंदिताद इतरत प्रशंसितुम. So this is a commentary on Jaimini's Mimamsa Sutras 2421 by Shabar Swami. Shabar Swami says, criticism is not employed in Shastra in order to criticize or blame something that is blameworthy. So kim tarhi, why then it is employed? Ninditad itarat prashamsitum. The purpose is to praise something or someone else. This is the purpose of criticism in Shastra. So Dhāmeśvara Mahaprabhu, when Shastra is critiquing householder life, does it have grudge against householder life?
No.
No.
It's glorifying sannyas.
Yeah, it is glorifying renunciation. So in this way, dear devotee, this is a very important principle of the Vedas, because Mimamsa Sutras are dealing directly with the Vedas. And Vedas are free from rag and dvesh, attachment and repulsion. Vedas don't have any rag and dvesh. The Shastras don't have any rag and dvesh, attachment and repulsion. Why will Shastras critique anything? The criticism is employed in Shastra in order to praise the opposite of it. I hope you are able to understand. So this is the principle that we have to understand. So this is Shabar Swami, very big authority on Mimamsa. He is quoting this particular principle, and we should remember this principle always. So let's get back to our commentator Sri Chandra Goswami. Sri Chandra Goswami is saying, fire, Mahaprabhu is saying, fire upon me, fire upon me. So Mahaprabhu is not critiquing himself. Mahaprabhu is praying for the opposite, for increased attachment towards Harinam. This is how this criticism has to be understood. So this is the commentary of Sri Veer Chandra Goswami. Dear devotees, finally for today, I would like to quote the important points of Sanmodan Bhashya of Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur. And he says, he is the only one who says that Bhagwan's names are manifest in two categories. Mukhya Ram, primary names, and Gaun Nam, secondary names. The devotees, he is the first one to have given this classification. All other commentators put all the names in a single category, that they are Bhagwan's names. Sri Bhakti Vinod Thakur is the one who gives a finer nuance that all names are not equal, that there is a distinction between primary names and secondary names. This is in his Sanmodan Bhashyam on this particular verse. And then he gives examples of primary names: Hari, Krishna, Govinda, Achyuta, Ram, Ananta, Vishnu. They belong to the category named Mukhyanam. Why? Because these names are directly related to the forms, qualities, pastimes within the spiritual world. Dear devotees, forms, qualities, pastimes within the spiritual world. Please remember this. And then there are names which pertain to form, qualities, and pastimes in the material world. Brahma, Paramatma, Niyanta. Niyanta is controller. Pata, Pata is protector. Srashta, Srashta is creator. Mahendra, the greatest lord. They belong to the category Gaunana because these names are pertaining to forms, qualities, pastimes in the material world. I hope you are able to understand. So, even in the material world, Bhagavan may be performing Leela of the spiritual world. For example, even in the material world, Bhagavan may be lifting Govardhan hill. So he is called Giridhari, but that is Mukhya Nam because that pastime is originally from the spiritual world. But pastimes which are purely pertaining to maintenance, destruction, creation of the material world, those names are counted as Gauna Nam, Brahma, Paramatma, Niyanta, Pata, Srashta, etc. So, dear devotees, these are called as Gauna. Now, we should also understand one thing that there is one name Jagannath. Jagannath is one of the names of Bhagavan. Dhameshwar Mahaprabhu, what is the meaning of Jagannath?
Lord of the universe.
Lord of the universe. So this name pertains, if you look at this, primarily, if you take the prima facie meaning of this name, does it look like a Gauna Nam or Mukhya Nam?
Gauna.
Gauna Nam. But when Mahaprabhu uttered this name in Rath Yatra, he became that is what happened to him. He started faltering. Jajagaga, jajagaga. It is mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita. So, what is Mukhya Nam, what is Gauna Nam depends on the meaning that you are taking of that particular Nam. I hope you are able to understand. So, somebody may utter the name Jagannath, but the meaning in his mind may be Sham Sundar. I hope you are able to understand. So, all names have all meanings. I hope you are able to. All names have all meanings. Sarve Shabda Sarvarthaka. In Sanskrit, an expert grammarian can extract all meanings from all names. Next time we are going to discuss all of this. But uh, what is Mukhya Nam and what is Gauna Nam is dependent on the inner meaning that is perceived by the utterer when they are uttering that name. This important thing should be understood. We cannot permanently put something in Mukhya Nam and Gauna Nam category. It depends on the intention of the person who is uttering the Nam. So Bhagavan has invested all of his personal Swarup Shakti in the names that belong to his Mukhya Nam category. This is what Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur says. Now, because if somebody chants Gaun Nam, Brahma, 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 there are many people who chant Aham Brahmasmi, Aham Brahmasmi, Aham Brahmasmi. So they are chanting Gaun Nam of Bhagavan, but they are not going to get the result of chanting Mukhya Nam. So that is what Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur has highlighted here. And he says there are many examples in Shastra which show the potency of Harinam. That Nam is invested with all the potencies. Then he gives an example from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Yannam Sakrit Pukkashopi Vimuchyate Samsarat. This is from Srimad Bhagavatam 6.16.44. Merely by hearing his name only once, even Chandalas, dog eaters, men of the lowest class are freed from all material contamination. Another example. वेदाक्षराणि यावन्ति पठितानि द्विजातिभिः तावन्ति हरिनामानि कीर्तितानि न संशयः. Without a doubt, na samshayah, the number of syllables of Vedas that a twice born has studied is the same as the number of names of Hari that he has sung aloud. So Jiva Goswami says, this verse is originally quoted in Bhakti Sandarbha. Please understand this verse. The number of syllables of the Vedas that a twice born has studied is the same as the number of names of Hari that he has sung aloud. The devotee Sri Jiva Goswami says this verse is slightly different because this verse, is it emphasizing study of the Vedas or is it emphasizing utterance of Harinam? Because, there is a subject and predicate of the verse. So the subject and predicate appear to be reversed in this verse. It says the number of syllables of Vedas that a twice born has studied is the same as the number of names of Hari that he has sung aloud. So sometimes, dear devotees, this principle is called Atidesh. Atidesh means qualities of one particular entity are transferred into another entity. So Jiva Goswami says it means basically that the result of studying all the Vedas has been transferred to the utterance of Harinam, and in this way, indirectly, Harinam is being glorified in this verse. Please try to understand. There is an indirect glorification of Harinam. Next. Rigvedo hi yajurvedah samavedopyathārvaṇah adhitasthena yenoktam harir iti aksharadvayam. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur is quoting. A person who has uttered the two syllables Hari has studied Rig, Yaju, Sam and Atharva Veda. Another verse describing potency of Bhagavan's name. Dear devotees, Marcho ma yajustat ma sama patkinchana govindeti harirnama geyam gayasva nityashah. Tata, oh dear one, do not study Rig Veda, Yajur Veda or Sam Veda. Instead, constantly sing name of Hari, such as Govinda, etc., for they are worthy of being sung constantly. Hari Bhakti Vilas says, on the pretext of forbidding the utterance of Vedas, this verse is glorifying Shri Harinam. Dear devotees, in this way, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur quotes many verses, and those of you who are interested can see all those verses in his Sanmodan Bhashyam. But finally, he goes into a detailed section. He says, the misfortune is that I could not develop attachment, and this misfortune is nothing but aparadh towards Harinam. And then he lists the 10 aparadhs, which we have discussed in great detail in the Upadeshamritam series. What are the 10 aparadhs towards Harinam? We'll also try to discuss those aparadhs in this particular series of talks. But today, we will pause our speech, dear devotees. And these 10 aparadhas, we will try to find some other time to discuss all of them. But please remember, dear devotees, there are commentaries remaining. Shri Radha Govind Nath is yet to begin speaking. So a lot is remaining. And we haven't also heard from Shri Kanupriya Goswami. So there are commentators remaining on this particular verse. We will try to discuss all of them. But then we also have to see further ahead what are some newer angles in this particular verse that are yet to be explored. But I'll pause my speech today, dear devotees. Yadatra skalitam kinchit vidvam sahapurayantu tat. Yadatra saushtavam kinchit tad gurureva me nahi. Yadatra skalitam kinchit. Is there any mistakes that I made? Vidvam sah, your learned devotees, purayantu tat. Please correct any mistakes. But yadatra saushtavam kinchit. Whatever was nice, tad gurureva. It belongs to my gurujanas. Me nahi. It doesn't belong to me. Thank you very much, dear devotees. Thank you, Dhāmeśvara Prabhu, so much for kindly hosting this talk. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय. श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य महाप्रभु की जय. निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे. हरि हरि बोल. Hare Krishna.
Hari Hari Bo! Thank you so much, Prabhu, for a really wonderful class. It brought the second verse into such higher resolution, and actually answered some questions that I thought about so long ago. How is it that these names were created or invested? It makes it sound like it was a particular event in a particular time when it's eternal. So I really appreciate that. I never asked the question. I thought it. I also never got an answer, but now I've got the answer. So thank you so much. Really wonderful and such a blessing to be here. I'm very grateful. We're going to do questions and answers now. And so this is a informal meeting, not attached to any institution or group. And so we just ask that you keep your questions philosophical in nature and make sure that there's time for other people to ask a question. So just ask one question at a time, and then you can get back in line if you have more questions. And yeah, I forgot my other rules.
Yeah, and there is the announcement if somebody wants to join the WhatsApp group.
Yeah, I can show the address right here. One moment, please. So if you would like to join our live classes, please send an email to Siksastakam.hpd@gmail.com. Include your WhatsApp number and country code. And so only ask questions related to today's class. No loaded questions about a particular person or institution. Keep your questions short or wait for another turn. And very detailed questions, please save for our WhatsApp group. Anything else, Prabhuji?
No, thank you. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Let's begin.
Our first question is from Paramakaruna Prabhu.
Dhanwad Pranam, Prabhuji.
Okay.
Thank you so much once again for such a wonderful class. So many points that you brought out and which are not available, at least in my knowledge, anywhere else. Of course, you have the full blessings of previous acharyas and you're simply highlighting and repeating their words, but it is through you that we are getting that benefit of their writings. So
Great.
thank you so much for being the link to those deeper understandings in the parampara. Guruji, I have a few questions and I'll come back in line each time. My first question is, should I go sort of in the sequence of chronological order of the talk?
Yeah, logical sequence. Yeah, logical sequence.
So since we studied the Anvay today of this word, I was wondering what, I mean, I understand in a general sense what is Anvaya, but I would like to understand deeper from you what really is Anvaya, because of few considerations or doubts sort of in my mind. Like in Srila Prabhupada's books, we see basically the word-to-word or synonyms which are in sequence in which they appear in Sanskrit. So that is, I find that, and the Anvay, I mean, they're kind of closely related. Many translations of other acharyas and all don't contain that at all. They're just the verse and the translation. So this, any sequence of breakup of words, word to word, is absolutely fantastic. However, there is this concept of rearranging it in a particular sequence and then presenting it. But that seems to me that, like the way you do, is more specific to the English language, because you're arranging it in a way so that the English translation of the word to word kind of connects into a legible sentence, as you said. If it was, let's say, I don't know, some other language like Hindi or Telugu or Spanish, I don't know those languages. I mean, I know Hindi, but maybe the arrangement might be slightly different.
Correct.
Also, I have seen certain texts, certain Sanskrit texts where they offer anvayas of Sanskrit to Sanskrit. That also puzzles me. Like, I mean, the verse is in Sanskrit, and then is there a certain why do we need to do an anvaya of the Sanskrit verse within Sanskrit itself? And maybe so yeah, what really is anvaya? Or all of these, is anvaya a general term, and all of these qualify correctly, including, for example, in Srila Prabhupada's books, like just the Sanskrit sequence is maintained and a word to word is given, and it is left to the reader to kind of put it in the sequence.
Sure.
Both things,
So,
yes.
So the answer to this query is that Sanskrit is a very flexible language, and in Sanskrit, the terms are automatically aligned with each other. You can utter a sentence in any particular order of the terms in most cases. For example, Ramah Ravanam Hatvan, which means Ram killed Ravan. But in English, Hatvan is killed. So Ramah Hatvan Ravanam is according to English. In Hindi, it will be राम ने रावण को मारा, रामः रावणम हतवान. Or if in Hindi you speak the sentence मारा राम ने रावण को, हतवान रामः रावणम. So Anvay basically means you specify the connection of one term to the other term in order to make a logical sentence. Now you said Srila Prabhupada has given word for word, but Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada has given Anvay in his commentary. You can see here Anubhashya. This is Hey Bhagavan, Prabhu Krishna. So this is Anvay. Namna Bahudha. He has rearranged the terms, basically. So this is in Anubhashya. This is from where I took. This is Anvay he has done. So this is Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada's style of explaining that particular verse. So Anvay also helps in the way that it helps you to arrange the terms in a language of your choice, and here I am doing it for English, because in English the subject, verb, object structure is a little more rigid. And in Indian languages, that structure is not so rigid. In English, you will have to say Ram killed Ravan. Active voice. Ram killed Ravan. Unless you change it to passive voice, Ravan was killed by Ram. Till that time, you can't change the structure of the sentence. But active voice, there is only one arrangement. Ram killed Ravan. But in Hindi, राम ने रावण को मारा, रावण को राम ने मारा, मारा राम को रावण ने, मारा राम ने रावण को. So, what is Anvay? Anvay is where you show the connections of the terms in a particular language. So the previous acharyas have done Anvay in such a way that in most Indic languages, in most Indian languages, you can frame a sentence. But when you are doing it in English, the sentence structure is very rigid and you are not allowed flexibility in English language. So I am not biased against English. English is very wonderful, but there are some limitations in English. The first limitation is that the sentence structure is very rigid. And the second limitation in English is that you can't write poetry in those meters, short and long syllables. Because what someone pronounces as a short syllable, somebody else may pronounce as a long syllable. And what somebody pronounces as a long syllable in English, somebody else may pronounce as a short syllable. So there is no fixed nature of long and short. For this reason, you cannot have meters like Vasant Tilakam and Shardul Vikriditam in English. Otherwise, we would have made poetry in those same meters in English. And I would have been writing some verses in English also in the same meters. But it is not possible because the sentence structure is rigid and the concept of Laghu and Guru syllables doesn't exist in English. So Anvaya has to be done according to the language in which people will understand. And our chosen language is English. Therefore, I am doing Anvaya in English. But if it would be Hindi or something else, I would have done according to Hindi. So that is what I hope that answers your first query. Okay.
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you. I'm sure Yoda would have something else to say regarding the English rigidity.
Who is that, Prabhu?
Oh, okay. It's a Star Wars thing. Yoda is the Acharya of the parampara there, and he speaks English in this.
Okay.
Anyway, thank you, Prabhuji.
He changes the sentence structure.
Yeah. Yes.
Any comment on that Sanskrit to Sanskrit Anvay, Prabhuji? That part of the question.
So the Sanskrit to Sanskrit Anvay is done to give alternate easier terms for the slightly difficult terms. I'll give an example for this. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Prabhupada in his Anvay. You can look at his Anvay. So, Akari, here I am highlighting with my mouse, Akari. Akari, he gives in bracket Prakatitaha. Prakatitaha means manifested. Because the names were never created, they were Prakatitaha, manifested. So, Nam Nija Sarva Shakti, Atmanaha Anantaha Shakti. So, he gives simpler alternatives for longer or more complicated terms. So, that is the purpose of Sanskrit Anvay, to give simpler alternatives. And that is the main purpose. And sentence arrangement is flexible. Any Indic language, you can translate it easily. Right? That is the way.
And thank you so much.
Thank you.
Our next question is from Shyam Mukunda Prabhu. He writes, Haribol Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you so much for a wonderful class. In the 8 stages, Adao, Shraddha, Bhajana, Kriya, of sadhana bhakti, at what stage does one's attraction for the holy name become so pure that one is able to chant and remember constantly in the mind?
At what stage is one able to chant and remember constantly in the mind? That this question will definitely come up, because third verse is dealing with the Kirtaniya Sadahari. The question is basically, when will Kirtaniya Sadahari happen? So that question will definitely come up in the third verse. But the Acharyas have specified that for any particular sadhaka, that stage arises when one is in samadhi, when one is in prema. That particular stage arises at that time. So that is the short and sweet answer. But otherwise, for a detailed explanation, we will have to dive into verse number 3, which we will do, at a certain point of time. I hope that answers the question to some degree of satisfaction. Okay.
He says, okay, thank you, Prabhuji. Next we have Bishwadeep Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Dhanavad Pranam. Today's class was really a very much nourishing class for me. Especially 3 points I like very much, the Smaranena part and the Tattva of Harinam that was discussed by Virchandra Goswami ji. And of course, the Jagannath explanation of the word Jagannath. But what was the mood? And like that was my favorite. So thank you so much for the class. Prabhu, my question is that the humility of Mahaprabhu and how he expresses it, what was the mood that is explained in this verse, right? So, as a point of sadhaka, when we talk about ourselves, so the genuine feeling of humility that we have sometime, there may be two cases when we are actually Danya Bodhika, we are expressing our humility that and sometimes some other person praises us, and that time we actually have a genuine feeling of humility and then we express it. So in both of the cases, sometimes this expression of humility feels a bit artificial, like the same sequence of word we are just it feels artificial sometimes, the part of expressing that humility. So how to deal with it? So that's my question.
How to deal with humility that appears artificial? It is best not to utter anything which is artificial. Our surrender to Bhagwan should not be artificial, partial, or conditional. Why utter something, a statement of humility, artificially? Because artificially means there is some element of pretense involved in it. We are not being true to ourselves. So why utter something through our mouth artificially? Rather, it is better to say to Bhagwan that Bhagwan, I wish to feel like this, but somehow I am not able to come to that stage of realization. That seems more organic, and that is very much more honest. So humility is basically an honest expression of one's current condition of existence. That is what humility is. And in one's current state of existence, one will find many things which are worthy of putting oneself in dejection and self-pity. If we look at our lives, there are many things. For example, we can say, Bhagwan, yesterday night I was so favorably remembering you. I don't know what happened today morning. I woke up and it was all washed out. I don't know what happened. Sometimes you might be having that feeling that one particular night you are remembering Bhagwan so nicely and you go to sleep like that. My goodness, tomorrow is going to be a great day. And then you wake up next day and it's all washed out. What happened? So the mood from the previous day was washed out. Oh, Krishna Chaitanya. Then you go in front of Bhagwan and say, Bhagwan, I don't know what happened. I was trying to remember you nicely, but everything got washed out today. You see, this is my mind. Now, when I'm speaking like this to Bhagwan, I'm genuinely expressing what is the truth. Here also, Mahaprabhu is genuinely feeling like that, and therefore he's expressing what he feels. It is not an artificial statement. Durdaivam idrisham iha janina anuraga. It is not an artificial statement. I'll also quote verses from Sri Ishwar Puri next time, where he also says that I don't have the slightest affection for Sri Harinam. But these were feelings that came out in the moment of a deep sense of feeling of worthlessness, a genuine feeling of worthlessness. So that is when these particular words were uttered. And when we utter them without any genuine feelings or without any genuine emotions, we might be imitating them like a parrot. But better than that is to have an honest talk with Bhagwan every day. It's very nice to have an honest talk with Bhagwan to go in front of Bhagwan every day and say, Bhagwan, see, you are my friend, right? Bhagwan, you are my friend. Dasyam Sakhyam, you're my friend. So, since you are my friend, and friends always have secrets. So I'll tell you something about myself. Bhagavan, yesterday I tried a lot that I will not become critical of such and such person. I don't know what came over me. I don't know what happened to me. I tried my best, but I could not control myself, and I ended up critiquing this person. Bhagwan, I don't know, why it so happened. Bhagwan, can you help me with one thing? Can you help me so that these tendencies for anger, greed, lust go away from my heart in a friendly way, not in an inimical way, in a friendly way? Let them go away from my heart. Because sometimes tendencies go away after scraping your heart in a very bad way. Let them go away without scraping my heart. I want something like this. So speak like this, as if you're speaking to a friend. You don't need to fake humility in front of friends, right? So that is what our relationship with Bhagwan should be. And then someday in front of Bhagwan, my family, they humiliated me so much today. Really, I feel worthless today. I feel I did nothing in my life. So that is when a particular event has occurred. We will discuss this in Trinadapi Sunita. How does one become Trinadapi Sunita? Can one become Trinadapi Sunita by one's own effort? And we will discuss how it is that one is brought to the point of Kirtaniya Sadhari. And so we will discuss all of that. But it's more important to be very natural, organic in front of Bhagavan, because that is a good, healthy relationship. That relationship everybody should cultivate. So that is my recommendation. Instead of that fake humility, oh Bhagwan, I am the most fallen. And then Bhagwan thinks, my goodness, this person is again wasting my time today. So, instead of that, it's better to be real, better to be organic. That's what the previous acharyas were, right? So I hope that answers your query to some degree of satisfaction.
Wonderful answer. Absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much.
Next we have Ajay Rucharya, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, please accept my obeisances.
You got me, yeah. Yes.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhuji. So thank you so much for today's class. It was a really enlightening class on the different kinds of names of Bhagwan and relating it to the Ashtayam Leela especially. My primary question was about the Shakti, but I think it would be discussed in the upcoming sessions. So it brings to my secondary question, which is like we say, Kali Kali Nam Rupe Krishna Avatar. So that Krishna Avatar is not specifically, we can say from this session that Krishna Avatar was not specifically for Kali Yuga, right? It was since time immemorial. So can you shed some light on that?
Kali Kale Nam Rupe Krishna Avatar. In Kali Yuga, Krishna descends in the form of his Nam. So basically, in Kali Yuga, Krishna descends in the form of Nam Sankirtan. I hope you are able to understand. Krishna descends in the form of Nam Sankirtan. In all ages, there is Nam. Krite yad dhyayato Vishnu. Please tell me, in Satya Yuga, what is the process?
I think it was Tapasya.
Tapasya. Tapasya is just plain austerity. Meditation on Vishnu. But
Yes.
meditation begins with Vishnu's Nam. Alright. So meditation on Nam. In Satya Yuga also, Nam was present within meditation. Tretayam yajato makhai. In Treta Yuga, Yagya. Yagya primarily consisting of Bhagavan's Nam. Dwapare Paricharya. In Dwapar Yuga, deity worship. And while worshipping the deity, mainly, the utterance of Bhagavan's Nam. And Kali Yuga, even without deity worship, direct utterance of Bhagavan's Nam. So in Kali Yuga, Nam Rupe, which means Nam Sankirtan Rupe, which means in the form of Kirtan, Nam has appeared. In other ages, Nam appeared in the form of Yagya, in the form of Dhyan, in the form of Archa. In all ages, Nam is present. But in Kali Yuga specifically, it is present in the form of Kirtan, Sankirtan, and there is also the magnanimity of Nam, because in Treta Yuga, Yagya can be performed only by those who are born as Brahmanas. But in Kali Yuga, that restriction is not there. Sankirtan is accessible to everybody. So, in all ages, Naam is there, but in Kali Yuga, Naam is present in the form of all munificent Sankirtan. That is the answer to the question. Right?
Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Next we have Harsho Gosar Prabhu.
Krishna Prabhu, my pranams.
My pranams.
Thank you Prabhu very much for explaining. If I'm not wrong, as Srila Prabhupada says, we have to study scriptures with different perspectives.
Prabhuji, will you please speak closer to the microphone or speak louder?
Am I audible now?
Speak a little closer to the microphone.
Can you hear me now?
It's
Yeah.
the same.
Yes.
We can hear you, but you're not any louder than when you started.
Haribol, Prabhu, can you hear me now? Is it okay?
We've been able to hear you, but you're not very loud from the start, and you haven't gotten any louder since.
Okay, can we let him try once? We'll see.
Is it okay now?
Yeah. Please try once. Yeah.
Yeah, Prabhu. Actually, I had a different question. Is it okay if I ask, or should I wait till the end?
If the question is not related to today's session, maybe you can ask it in the Q&A group. Are you part of the Q&A group?
Yes, Prabhu.
So yeah, maybe ask in the group, Prabhu. Okay, so that
Okay, sure.
today's session will be limited only to the queries which are in today's class.
Okay. No issues. Thank you, Prabhu.
Next we have Sachinandana Prabhu.
Very good.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you so much for a very beautiful class and for giving me the opportunity to ask a question. Prabhuji, I have a question because in the translation you use the word self-pity and dejection for Mahaprabhu's feelings. And I feel that many devotees also have these feelings many times throughout their sadhana practice. How do we take this, which seems to be a complete opposite of what Srila Rupa Goswami says is utsaha? So many times we hear the acharyas say, we should be happy in bhakti, have enthusiasm, etc. But then we have these counter feelings of self-dejection and pity. So if you can kindly explain that.
Yeah, it is very, thank you, Prabhu. It's very important to have counter feelings, because if a particular feeling goes on increasing, and then there are no counter feelings, then there is no refreshing challenge to your spiritual life. And Sri Rupa Goswami gives feelings and counter feelings in a single verse. In the Stavamala, I will quote that particular verse of Sri Rupa Goswami from Stavamala, which gives counter feelings in the same verse. I am sharing my screen so that we can see this particular verse. This is in the meter Mandakranta. Sri Rupa Goswami says in Stavamala, Prachinanam bhajanam atulam dushkaram shrinvato me. So Prachinanam, when the previous acharyas bhajan, when their bhakti atulam, which is incomparable, dushkaram and so difficult to execute, shrinvato me, when I am hearing that, nairashyena jvalate hridayam, my heart burns out of dejection. Why does my heart burn out of dejection when I hear about the bhajan of the previous acharyas? Because bhakti lesha alasasya. Because I am lazy even in executing a tiny fraction of bhakti. That is my condition. So you see, the feelings are going in the opposite direction. But Sri Rupa Goswami stop and then stop all the process of bhakti and go back to whatever you're doing before meeting Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. No, I'll not do that. Why? Vishwadrichim agharatava karnya karunya vichim. But when I hear about the waves of your mercy which reach far and wide, when I've heard about that, Asha bindu kshitamidam upaiti antare hanta shaityam. Then Asha bindu, then the drop of hope gives a cooling feeling to my burning heart. And that I'm surviving on the basis of that cooling feeling within my heart. So there is always going to be a tug of war between dainya, between dejection and Asha Bandha. Asha Bandha is one of the principles of Bhav Bhakti mentioned in Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. So that tug of war should always remain, because of that tug of war, newer and newer feelings come out from the devotee's heart. There is churning within the devotee's heart. When that churning is there, then the devotee expresses himself or herself in so many ways that brings a lot of pleasure to Bhagwan. But the dejection never becomes so much that it overtakes one's asha, one's ultimate hope to attain Bhagwan. So as long as there is dejection, but that dejection only serves as a lever to increase your asha, to increase your hope for attaining Bhagwan, then it is good. And there's a statement by Srila Prabhupada. He said to one of his disciples that dejection, if it is against your Krishna consciousness, should be given up. Like there is one statement of to that nature. So I'll try to find, if I am able to find, I'll share with you. But any dejection which is against the principle of anukulyena Krishna anushilanam, favorable execution of bhakti to Krishna, that dejection should also be given up. Because that dejection is not favorable to Krishna bhakti, and our principle is anukulyasya sankalpah pratikulyasya varjanam. Accept what is favorable and reject what is unfavorable. So if depression and dejection is also unfavorable, then we should reject that dejection and depression and accept it only to the point that it acts as leverage for platforming us onto a higher stage of Krishna. So that is the answer to this question. Right?
Thank you so much.
Next we have Bhaktin Dorothea.
Hare Krishna, my pranams to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Gauranga. Thank you, Prabhu, for this beautiful katha. My favorite points were the part where you said that among all his names, whatever name is completely dear to oneself should be employed in all acts of life. That's really amazing. And also that criticism is not employed in Shastra in order to criticize or blame something that is blameworthy, but rather to uplift the opposite. And yeah, that was really significant for me to understand why there's so many apparent strong criticisms in Shastra. So that's very much putting me at ease. And what I also found very interesting is that you said in relation to Mukhya Nama and Gauna Nama that all names have all meanings. And so if all names have all meanings, then does that also apply to the Mahamantra? Because the Mahamantra has very specific meanings also given by the Acharyas. And if all the names have all meanings, then maybe one could think, okay, then I can meditate on anything during japa because everything is the meaning of the Mahamantra. So how can we understand this? Thank you.
Right. So the query is that Sarva Shabda Sarva Arthaka, all terms can have all meanings. And if we apply this to the Mahamantra, then Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare can have any meaning. We can meditate on anything. So, of course, and I have also specified in Radha Tantram, the meaning of the Hare Krishna mantra is not Krishna specific, Krishna centric. It has a completely different meaning even in Radha Tantram. And the mantra can have so many unlimited meanings. But then there is something called as Mukhya Artha. Mukhya Artha means what is the main meaning of that particular term. The main meaning of the particular term is called Mukhya Artha, and Mukhya Artha is given by the previous Acharyas. The previous Acharyas have given what is the Mukhya Artha, the main meaning of a particular term. Secondary meanings are to be taken when for some reason the main meanings do not make sense. That is when secondary meanings are supposed to be taken. So this is called Lakshana Vritti. Lakshana Vritti means there is Abhidha Vritti. Abhidha Vritti is primary meaning of a particular name. The primary meaning of a particular name, when there is no obstacle to the meaning, you just take the primary meaning. But when there is an obstacle in the primary meaning, you have to take a secondary meaning. So the example of Abhidha Vritti is, Lakshana Vritti is Gangayam Ghosha, village on the Ganga. So can a village be directly on the Ganga? Please tell me yes or no.
No.
No. So Gangayam Ghosha. So when it says village on the Ganga, what meaning is should be taken?
It's on the banks of the Ganga.
Oh, see, you changed the meaning. Why did you change the meaning? So you changed the meaning because the primary meaning was no longer making sense. The direct meaning was no longer making sense. So you took the secondary meaning. So somebody is initiated in a Vaishnava Sampradaya and they are worshipping Bhagavan with Shri Radha. For them, the mantra is Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. The primary meaning in their context will be Hare as Shri Radha, Krishna as Nanda Nanda. Why should they take a secondary meaning when the primary meaning is not obstructed at all? So that is why primary meanings have to be taken. Even Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he was discussing Vedanta with Sri Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he said, why are you giving up primary meanings and accepting secondary meanings of the Shastra? Mahaprabhu always said, you accept Mukhya Artha. That is the main meanings of the Shastra should be accepted as it is. The meaning of Shastra should be accepted. I'll give you an example of this. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 14.1, he says something, and I'll share my screen so that it will be very easy to understand. He says, Param Bhuyah, Krishna says, Param Bhuyah Pravakshami Jnananam Jnanam Uttamam. So again, I will tell you, Pravakshami Jnananam, amongst all knowledge, Uttamam Jnanam, the highest knowledge I will tell you. So amongst all knowledge, I will tell you the highest knowledge. This is the direct meaning. And then at the end of the chapter in 14.27, Bhagwan tells what is the highest knowledge. And he says, Brahmano hi pratishtha aham. I am the substratum. I am the basis of the impersonal Brahman. In the beginning of the 14th chapter, he'll say, I am going to give the highest of the highest knowledge. And at the end of the 14th chapter, he says, the highest of the highest knowledge is that I am the basis of the impersonal Brahman. But if some impersonalist reads this, he will not interpret it directly by saying that the impersonal Brahman is dependent on Krishna. Obviously, he'll take a secondary meaning of this. Because if he takes the primary meaning that Brahman is dependent on Shri Krishna, then his whole purpose is not satisfied. So definitely, Mahaprabhu was not in favor of taking secondary meanings when primary meanings make sense. So we are also like that. We don't take secondary meanings when primary meanings are suitable for our purpose. So that is the sum and substance. So Hare Krishna can mean anything. Krishna can mean the milkman who supplies me milk every day. So doesn't mean that I am going to take his name when I'm uttering Hare Krishna. So that we will take the meanings which are suitable for which our acharyas have given. That is the answer to your question. Right.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Yes, wonderful.
Next we have Paramakaruna Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for the opportunity to ask questions. Like I said last time, these question answer sessions are as beneficial as the main class itself. So Prabhuji, this is related to the same topic, the Mukhya and Gauna Nam. My question is like, where does Radha Nam fall in this? Is it Mukhya or Gauna? Or actually the sort of the question behind that is, if does that count as a Nam of Krishna? Because Srimati Radharani is the energy of Krishna. And like you were also saying, connecting it back to the point, all the paraphernalia and other, they're all intrinsic to Krishna himself. So I hope.
Yeah. So this question is I'm going to take up in the next parts because question arises If in all your names you have invested all your potencies, what about Bhagwan Shiv's name? What does uttering Bhagwan Shiva's name, does it have all the potencies? What about names of other deities? What about these various names that are mentioned in Shastra? So, names of tattvas other than Vishnu Tattva, we have not yet discussed. But that will require a detailed, I will have to take you logically. So, please give me some time, so I will take you logically through all those things, because our acharyas have mentioned about those names also. So,
So the
yeah.
name of Shri Radha is Shakti Tattva. Is that the
Which tattva it is? Obviously, Sri Radha is Shakti Tattva. And her name also belongs to that category of Naam which is pertaining to Shakti Tattva. Because Sri Radha is not Vishnu Tattva. But is there non-difference between the names, or is there difference between the names, or in what sense should we see the names of other deities? So that is a detailed discussion which has to come up gradually, because that is not covered by the existing commentators as far as I have seen. The existing commentators have explained the verse in the context of Vishnu Tattva Naam. But there is no explanation on names of Bhagwan Shiva, or names of Sri Radha, or names of Durga, Saraswati, etc. What about those names? Because somebody may take this verse and Akari Bahudha Nija Sarva Shaktis. All your potential invested in all your names. So all names ultimately belong to you. So then might as well chant, the names of any of the deities. So then we are in the same school as Sri Adi Shankaracharya. Should the verse be interpreted in that way? So that will be some discussion. It will take some time. And I will also need to put some information on slides to show some pramanas from the previous acharyas. So for this, I will have to wait a little bit.
sounds good? And I would also request you, if possible.
Yeah.
My question was specific to the name of Sri Radha.
Sri Radha.
So
Yeah.
not also club that as a generic about all other deities, very specifically to Sri Radha herself.
Sure.
Okay. Since there are no other hands, would you like me to ask a couple of more questions?
Sure. Why not? Yeah. Please go ahead.
Okay, sounds good. So, Prabhuji, this is another point I have. If you can go to that verse that you showed from Srimad Bhagavatam, 6:16:44 in your slide.
Okay, okay, I'll share my screen.
Yannam Sakrit Shrivat.
Yeah, this is the verse. The last two lines. Yannama Sakrit Shravanat Pukka Shopi Vibhuchyate Samsarat.
Yes, Prabhuji. So just this is again probably just a little bit of a fine tuning on the question that I had asked last time. Also, it's the verse says Vimuchyate Samsarat, and in word by word translation, Srila Prabhupada has mentioned samsarat as the obvious, and we also understand as the entanglement of material existence.
Right.
And then in the translation, and as you also quoted directly from Srila Prabhupada, that freed from all material contamination.
Right.
So just to clarify my understanding, that the one name that, what this verse is glorifying, the power or the potency of the holy name, is not just about eliminating the sinful reactions, but all material reactions, both sin and pious.
So Srila Prabhupada might have taken the meaning of samsar as contamination. Literal meaning of samsar is material existence.
And he has done so in the word by word as well. So there is no, Prabhupada is perfectly correct in that.
So sometimes in English you translate in various ways. If you take a more literal approach, samsar literally basically means material existence. And in a more another translation of samsar could be material contamination, because material existence leads to material contamination. So there is a cause and effect. Material existence leads to material contamination. And this is the translation Srila Prabhupada has taken. But the root cause of material contamination is material existence, which is the meaning of samsara. So that is
Just wanted to bring out that nuance that the one name eliminates both or all material existence, not just the sinful part of it. Thank you, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, next question, probably, this is the last one I have. Towards the very end of your talk, you mentioned that not having that attachment for Shri Nama is also an aparadha. You at least said this in your speech.
Right.
Maybe I heard it or I'm misremembering, but did you mean it as some kind of an extension to the 10 Nama Aparadhas? Or if not, then could you clarify like which specific Nama Aparadha would not having attachment, which I feel is different from chanting inattentively?
No, there is the 10th offense is Shrutepi Nama Mahatmya Yah Priti Rahito Dhamah Aham Mamadi Paramo.
Okay, so
This is what it is. The 10th offense is, Shrutepi Nama Mahatmya, even on hearing the glories of Nam, Yah, that person who is Priti Rahita. Now you please tell me what is the meaning of Priti Rahita?
Without or devoid of love.
Devoid of love towards whom?
Towards Nama.
Yeah, of course. Towards Nam and Nami, Shri Krishna. That Naraha, that person, Aham Mamadi Parama, is absorbed only in conceptions of I and mine. Namni Sopi Aparadakrit. He is also an aparadi towards Hari.
Okay, yes, Prabhuji. Perfect. Sorry, I messed up. Yep. Very, very clear.
Right.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Those were my questions. Thank you so much once again.
I really resonated with the verse that said that when the Shastra criticizes something, it's an indirect praise.
Right.
It's something I've thought a long time about our internal dialogue, because it can be helpful to be humble, but sometimes we can go too far in being critical of ourselves. And so I've always thought that a good way to counteract that is to just take the positive opposite. So if I think, oh, I'm so lazy, that means that I value being active.
Right.
You know, and so why not focus on the positive, because it can be a little bit more uplifting.
Definitely, 100%. It's so nice to see that so many of these intuitions that we have were thought of by personalities thousands of years ago and put into writing in Shastra. And we just need to pick them from the correct places. And we have all the help that we need in our lives. Thank you so much, Prabhu.
And Prabhuji, just in that same line.
Yeah. Thank you. It all reminds me of a line from.
Yeah, Prabhu. Yes, Paramkana Prabhu, you wanted to say something?
No, I think Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu was saying something, and then
we both got each other off. But there's one line from Marcus Aurelius where he says that when you make a mistake or your days aren't perfectly disciplined, don't be too disappointed, but get back up again, celebrate the chance to be a human being and love what you return to.
Very nice.
It's kind of a similar spirit.
Very nice. Thank you, Prabhu. I think he's one of the founders of what is the name of the philosophy called?
Stoicism.
Stoicism. Yeah, he's one of the founding fathers of Stoicism. He was a king, right?
Yeah, he was a Roman emperor.
Yeah. Okay. Wonderful. All right.
I was saying that in the same spirit as Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu said, even the descriptions of Sanketyam, Parihasyam, etc. are actually glorifying. They're not saying that it's all right to take the name in that way, but the opposite, that how wonderful it would be to take it with Shraddha.
Yeah.
And,
yes. There are verses, but there are verses like that. Kim Punah Shraddhaya Granam. That what to speak of those who utter with faith. So yes. that's a fact.
Very, very nice class, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Great realization, Paramakana Prabhu. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for your association. It's so wonderful to be here with you all. And thank you, Hari Parshabhu, for a really wonderful class and for your kind association and answering so many questions. I'll invite everyone now to unmute and give a big thank you to Hari Parshad Prabhu as soon as I can find the button. Oh, my Lord. Oh, here we go. All right, let's all unmute and give a big thank you to Hari Parshad Prabhu.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna,
Thank you
Prabhuji.
so
Prabhu,
much.
thank
So
you,
much for
Prabhu.
your valuable
Thank you so much,
assistance.
Prabhuji.
Jai
Hare
Parshad
Krishna.
Prabhuji ki
Jai
jai.
Shri Prabhupada.
Anant Koti Vaishnava Vrinda
Bhaktavipascha
ki
Kripa
jai. Srila
Sindhubhye
Prabhupada ji
Vacha
Maharaj ji ki jai.
Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo
Vaishnavebhyo
Namo
namo namaha.
Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Jai.
Jai.
Hare Krishna,
Shriman Hari
Prabhuji.
Parsad
Thank you so
Prabhuji ki
much.
jai. Thank you
Shri
so much,
Prabhupada ki
Prabhuji.
jai. Ananta
Greatly
Koti
indebted to
Vaishnava.
you. Hare Krishna.
Ananta Koti Vaishnava. Hare Krishna. Hare.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Prabhuji, for
Thank you.
wonderful
Thank you
class.
Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Pranam
Thank you.
Prabhuji.
My pranams.
Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
everyone. We'll see you soon.
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.